Welcome back to Ask RadRat, the series where I answer your questions. These are all submitted by going to radratvideo.com and using the form there on the homepage. The first one today is from Shade. So he says, the popular opinion is that the new generation's attention span has shortened. And because of YouTube, videos don't have that classic feeling because there is always another video to watch and no time to rewatch a certain part 20 times over. But I thought about it in a new light today. Even if all of these internet parts were dropped on actual DVDs that you had to buy, we would still move on to the next video simply because there are so many pro and am skaters compared to back in the day. So he doesn't think that that social media is the problem. It's more that there's just so many more skaters, so much more footage coming out. I think you have a point, but I would consider this. So if every week, you watch the same amount of skateboarding you do now, except instead of on Instagram, you are buying a DVD or a tape. I don't have any way to watch this, by the way, except for online. But if you were watching a DVD or a tape every week, it would get expensive. You couldn't actually buy, a skate video was like $20 back in the day, with inflation 30, 35. Right? You can't just buy one of those every week or every couple of days. So yeah, we would do this, just rewatch them over and over and over. Same thing with games. When games couldn't be that long because there wasn't a lot of storage space, they would just make them really, really hard. So you had to play them over and over and over and over again to actually beat them. But with skate parts, you would just rewatch your favorite part, your favorite 2 or 3 parts over and over and over and over. And a lot of that was because we couldn't afford to buy a lot more, I think that's also a big part of it. But I looked up the thing about attention spans, and I did find something interesting. It said Gen Z has an 8-second attention span compared to 12 from millennials, according to a study from Microsoft. So if they lose interest within 8 seconds, they're done. They will only commit about 8 seconds. And if you consider how often you scroll through when you're on TikTok or something like that, and if it doesn't grab you immediately, you're done. You move on. You can never watch all of it. So you might as well just keep going until you see something interesting. So like that is an actual thing. I think what you're saying, that there was just less, and when a new skate video came out, it was a big deal. That is true, but it's a little bit of both, I would say. All right, next question is a tough one. This is from Front Feeble, who says, if you had to estimate, how many tricks do you think you've landed over the years? Not only traditional feet boards, but fingerboards, carpet boards, etc. I've barely ever skated a carpet board, so we'll skip that one. This would be really tough. The easiest one would be a fingerboard, because I probably do at least 50 tricks a day, and I have been for 20 years. So 50 times 20 times 365 would be about 365,000. I've probably done about that many, no problem. Snow skating, I'd say probably about 1,000 overall. Like, I love it, but there was a big gap. I used to do it back in high school, and I have that ramp set up now in the backyard. The problem is it hasn't been snowing. It snowed a lot, and then I happened to get really, really sick. It snowed like a foot and a quarter or something. It snowed a lot. And then by the time I wasn't sick, I was sick for a couple of weeks. It sucked. By the time I was finally able to go out, it had all melted. So I don't get out as much as I would like, but that's just how it is. As far as skateboarding, that one is going to be a tough one to guess. So lately I've been skating once per week. I go to the skate park, and I would say I could land an average of 25 tricks, let's say. It depends. If I'm going for something, I might only land a few. If I'm just hanging out and having fun, I might land a lot more because I'm not trying anything too hard. Kind of tough to say. And then I was sick or injured for a long time, mostly knee problems. So I would say that I would land about 10 tricks a month on average, which would be nothing for a while. I'm in crutches or something like that. And then I would skate a lot a couple of times. So I would combine those for about 3,000 tricks. Before that, I had about 10 years of very frequent skating all the time, every day, if I could, if there wasn't rain or snow or something like that. And I had a mini ramp. So if you count doing an axle stall or a nose stall to set up for the next thing, that would rack up really quick. I would call that about 200 tricks per week, which I think is pretty possible because I skated all the time. And if you add that all up, that's about 100,000. So I'm probably a hair over 100,000 tricks that I've landed. Not different tricks, but like 100,000 times I've done a trick and landed on it. It sounds like a lot, but over 20 something years, 23 years. Yeah, I started in 01, I think. About 23 years of skating. Like that's probably kind of low considering all the times I've been hurt. But yeah, I've landed about 100,000 skateboard tricks, I would guess. Okay. Next question is from Mike, who says, is Rad After Dark still something on the table? I remember you mentioning it a while ago. Also, are you going to be reviewing Skate 4, aka Skate, when that drops, most likely in 3 or 4 years? The After Dark thing, I talked about it in the last one. I know you hadn't seen that yet because this question's a little bit old, but I do have some ideas about it. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that, but I do want to do something with that. It's just going to take some resorting of my schedule and things like that too. Because I don't want to film a video where I'm playing a game and drinking at like noon, So I don't know. Stay tuned for that. But as far as will I be reviewing Skate 4 when that comes out? Of course I will. And I am not legally allowed to tell you my thoughts on the game right now. There have been lots of, you can join in and play for testing and stuff like that. And someone like me may or may not have been invited to do that. And I would say Session, out of all of the games I've played, Session is the best sim skateboarding game right now, by a lot. The Skate series always was great as a game, like having a story, having like a challenge that you have to do, and characters talking to you that will walk up to you, and like more of a world, as opposed to it feels the most like skating. Now, it did feel the most like skating when that came out. It's not going to be able to hang with Session or even Skater XL. So that it's going to have that to work with. It's got to be a really good game, a really good experience, because it's not going to be able to hang with the sim style from Session. So we'll talk more about that when I'm allowed to and when the game actually comes out. But you will definitely be hearing more about it from me. All right. Next question is from Lotion Beam, who says, you've done many videos regarding trick names, but I have a question about skate park obstacle names. Many parks will have a sort of circular roller. Are these boobs, nipples, or possibly volcanoes? Or are they all different obstacles depending on the shape, the height, steepness, overall size? I've heard all three of the above terms used. The best we could do is an internal skate park company name, because there isn't like a glossary. There isn't like an official standardized term list for skateboard obstacles, because most of this stuff comes from the street somehow. So you might use the name of the place where it came from, like a ledge down some stairs is called a hubba, which is weird because hubba meant either crack or crackhead. I'm not sure which. And then there was the hubba hideout, which is where the crackheads went to go hide and do drugs. And there was a ledge down some stairs at the hubba hideout. And people started to call that ledge the hubba. And then it became a hubba, and there would be hubbas all over the place, right? So like that name is not correct unless it's like a exact copy of the spot. But like it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So like if you call something a hubba and other people know what you mean, that's fine. And that's basically all that we've got. We don't have like official trade, technical specs and stuff where this stuff is decided. So if you've heard all of those, they're all right. That's really all there is to say about it, in my opinion. All right. The next question is from Shay, who says, how do you feel about skate videos that show the first part of a trick, change camera angles, then show the entire trick from the beginning? For example, you'll see the skater pop into a grind, then the shot will change to a different camera to show the skater getting into the grind again, and then obviously finishing the grind. I find it kind of jarring, since I'm especially focused on the skater's feet, board, and obstacle at the beginning of the trick. I'm not expecting the camera angle to change so abruptly. I also feel like it adds a more polished / overly produced vibe to a video that I'm not always super into. He gets why they do it, but he finds it a bit weird. So, back in the day, around 1990 or so, there were skate videos, well, especially before that, were not about showing you tricks that somebody was actually doing. Like, that was mostly what happened in them. But if you could cut and make something look like a line that wasn't, they would do that. You know, there was a Frankie Hill part where I don't think they did it with lines, but they would do stuff where he's like, the board touches the ground, it cuts. And he said that like he didn't ever land that trick, but it looked like it, so they just kept it, you know. In the Plan B ones from way back, they would do a trick, then start like doing and then it would cut. So they would like land their trick, do a 360 flip, it would cut, and then he's landing the 360 flip and then doing something else. Well, the thing is, you don't see the other camera there because there wasn't one. You weren't supposed to believe, or were you supposed to believe that that was actually a line? I don't know. But like, it didn't have to be a real line that the person actually did. It was skateboarding entertainment more. Again, this was a smaller part of it. It was mostly just the same as it is now, but you could pull off that kind of stuff from time to time, and it wasn't a big deal. And so that kind of turned into how skating used to be. Like, it had to be an exact shot. You had to show exactly how it came out of the camera. It has to look exactly like how it actually went down. And now you are doing that type of thing where the camera will cut more. The example I see most, and the way that I get it the most, is when you're doing a line and there's someone, you know, you do the first trick, you know, with the cameras following behind you. The last trick is some stairs. You pop the trick, catch it, and then it'll cut to like from far away, and you see the trick where you can see it a lot better. You can see the whole gap at once, and you see the trick that way, and you can see the other camera guy slowing down to a stop at the end. Like, I get why they do that, because that's the best shot of that particular trick. It just so happens to be in a line. But how do you show that it's in a line without cut? You know, I just think that's that's the best way to do it that we have right now. It could just be a trend, and I know maybe people use it a little more than you would like, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not like you're trying to deceive somebody into thinking that it was a different shot or that it was the same shot when it wasn't, type of thing. So, I don't know. It's just the current style, I guess. All right. The next question is also from Shay, who says, I started skating around the same time as you, but I was never good and stopped around 2003 when I graduated high school, and my skating friends and I went in different directions. I always loved skateboarding, but I stopped keeping up with what was going on until a couple of months ago. In those nearly 20 years, trends have changed in about every aspect of skateboarding. Since it seems like you didn't take that same hiatus that I did, I wanted to ask you about how trends shifted from around 2003 until now. I'm wondering if these trends are actually new, or if I wasn't paying close enough attention back in the day. So he lists some tricks that are common now. I don't have stories about particular tricks being more popular now, but I will tell you about some stuff that happened in the last 21 years. Back in 2003, there were a lot more tricks that were wrong, like stuff that you were not allowed to do. You had to do X, Y, and Z. You just wouldn't see certain tricks because they were so uncool that you weren't allowed to see them. There was a Clyde Singleton article. I'm sure it must have been published, and it was like all these tricks that you just should never do. You know, there was a lot more stuff like that back then. I think things started to change in 2002 with PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life, where it's just an unbelievable part, where he can do every trick in every stance all the time. You know, like he'll do a kickflip trick and then he'll do a heel flip one because he's got both. He didn't just pick one and get real good at it. He could do both. He can do them fakie. He can do them switch. He can do them all kinds of places. And he was doing tech stuff that was clean and fast and looked good. And that made a big difference because, you watch some stuff from before that, watch like a Chad Muska part or something like that, there'll be 15 tricks in the whole part and they'll just redo them a lot because those are that guy's tricks. But after that, you started to see a lot more different tricks of people trying to get good at everything like he was. In 2004, you had almost round 3 with parts by Daewon, Mullen, and Haslam. So they weren't doing just the standard stuff. They were doing all kinds of different types of tricks, really technical. And it was a big upgrade from the early 90s where you would see parts that were really technical, crazy flip tricks and stuff, but they were always really sloppy, really sketchy, slow. They would do stuff on a curb and land almost stationary, that type of thing where they would just land the trick once and it was good enough. Things started to get a lot more clean. It was more acceptable to do weird stuff because you could still make it look good. After that, we started to have skateboarding forums. So a weird trick like the forward flip by Daryl Stanton. I have a video about who may have invented that right here. People online could now discuss that trick and break it down and figure out what it was, and they could learn it. Before that, if you have to pause the tape and just hit the frame advance to try to figure out what the trick was. Now you could discuss it and you could figure it out and be like, well, this guy also did it in this. Now you can watch that clip too. And that started to make more discussions about things be possible. Also, freestyle. I was in a freestyle forum. People would talk about freestyle in other skateboarding forums. And that had been dead for 10 years, 15 years, So like, this stuff can come back. You can discuss where to get specialty products, where to get skid plates for a freestyle board. You could start to have more niche type of stuff. It didn't have to just be mainstream street skateboarding with the 10 approved tricks. After that, you could post stuff online. YouTube, Instagram came a little after that, and you could post a trick that isn't a serious trick. It's not something for your part. It's not an ender. It's just something you did, and it could be something kind of weird. It could be a weird trick you came up with. Maybe you didn't even land it, but it inspires somebody else. You just came up with this concept and you got pretty close, and whatever. That's good enough for an Instagram post. It doesn't have to be a video part. And then after that, the floodgates are basically opened where everybody's posting all kinds of tricks all the time, and you could see a lot more different stuff. And to me, that was kind of the biggest thing that really opened it all up. As soon as you see, like, who's this guy who does like a nose stall on stuff, but like he rolls by it, touches his nose to it, and then pops off and does something crazy. Unless that guy got so good at that he got a professional part, you would have never seen that. But now that you have seen it, you might try that once. You might do your own take on it. You may do it a little bit differently. So that's kind of where the trends in skateboarding have come from, where there's just so much more to work with. All right. Last question of the day is from Ryan, who says, I've always been a fan of skateboarding, playing Tony Hawk, watching skate videos and contests, but I have a ton of health problems that make it unrealistic and potentially dangerous to actually skate. Also, I'm getting into my 30s now, so it's too late anyway. And I feel uncomfortable engaging with the culture and on any level outside of private enjoyment. In basketball or football, it's cool to wear a jersey, but it's not acceptable to just be a fan of skateboarding. You have to skate yourself. Where is the line there? So I will say, starting in your 30s is not too late, but I'm not going to push you on your health stuff. I don't know. I've had my own problems with that too, so I get it. It is a tough line to walk. I would not wear skate shoes if I didn't skate, not because I don't think it's acceptable. And honestly, as a skater, I want skate shoe companies to be selling shoes, but I wouldn't wear skate shoes if I wasn't skating because they're not very comfortable. To walk around and go hike in skate shoes, like that's, I wouldn't do that. That said, I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing skate brand clothing. So you either have, merch from your favorite skateboarding YouTuber, or like, just brands of skateboarding. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would just expect people to ask you if you skate and to have an answer prepared. Like, well, I used to, but I stopped because of my health. I'm sure you've tried it before, but like, you are going to get questioned on that. And it is weird to see people in skate shoes that are not torn up at all, or like the shoes are in bad shape. Like they've worn them to work every day for a year, but there's no like skate lines on it. There's no hole in the kickflip spot. They're just like worn. It is kind of weird, but like, I don't think it's wrong to be a fan of skateboarding. Just prepare for people to question you on that. So that is what I've got for today. If you have questions of your own, go to radratvideo.com and you can submit them on the homepage. If you are a patron, you can submit me questions and I will reply to you directly, and I may or may not put it in a video, but you will get an answer. And that is it for now. Thanks for hanging out.